I'm going to do something that's never been done. I'm going to give you a history of Bitcoin, but from a financial advisor's perspective. Hi, I'm Mark Little. I decided I'm going to go through very thoroughly the history of Bitcoin in a multi-part series of videos that goes step by step through the history of Bitcoin, but specifically in a way that will help financial advisors. Most of our videos focus on comprehensive financial services. The reason I started doing them is because I've been doing data on affluent ideal clients for over 25 years. I am a financial advisor, and there is a disconnect between what clients want and what advisors are actually delivering. So I recommend that advisors spend 98% of their time working with us to fix that. But I also recommend, because there's an inflection point coming in our industry, that you invest 2% of your time studying Bitcoin. Due to the fact that I have something like 200 videos, it occurred to me that I have not invested 2% of my videos on this topic of Bitcoin. So I'm going to fix it with this video series. This is video number 1 of this series, and I call this video Hayek's Prophecy. Have you ever wondered why Bitcoin even exists? Why did someone feel the need to invent a whole new form of money? Let's roll back the clock back to 1984. We'll start there. Back in 84, a Nobel Prize-winning economist named Friedrich Hayek was asked about the future of money. His answer shocked the people. He said this: "We will never have good money again until we take it out of the hands of government. We can't do it violently, but maybe by some sly, roundabout way, we can create something that they cannot stop." Okay, now picture the room that he was in when he said this. This was a precious metals conference, so it was filled with experts in gold and other precious metals. These are gold advocates. These people at that time, they were still fuming over President Nixon's 1971 decision to close the gold window. That was supposed to be a temporary move. I remember watching him in the evening on TV when he made this announcement. I was just in high school, so I didn't think anything about it. But this idea of closing the gold window, that was just a very polite way of saying that the U.S. is actually defaulting on its promise to let other nations trade their U.S. dollars in at the Federal Reserve for gold. That was a promise that we made in order to be the global reserve currency. For decades, that deal had made the dollar the world's reserve currency, so Nixon pulling the plug, the trust was broke. So flash forward 13 years later, the sting was still raw with this crowd at this conference. They believed that only gold could keep governments honest. Their thinking at the time was, we need to go back and have gold discipline our money printing. We can't print money unless we have gold to back it up. The thinking has always been that gold is perfect because it's scarce. It's outside of the control of politicians. You have to work hard to dig gold out of the ground. At this conference, Hayek, he agreed with their concern, but he pushed further. He argued that sound money can't be tied to any one nation at all. His premise was just the idea of a global reserve currency, whether or not it's backed by gold. He was rejecting that. He was making the point that it needs to be permissionless, without an issuer, something that no government could manipulate. At that time, he wasn't thinking that he was making a prophecy, but he was. What he thought he was doing was just extending classical economics, the idea that real money is scarce and choices are made by individuals. But now that we look at his quote in hindsight, his words sound like the spark that lit the imagination of future software cypherpunks, as they were called in the 1990s. And they would spend this entire 25-year period from the moment that Hayek said this until the moment they started working on some way to make his quote become a reality. They were going to spend 25 years searching for that sly roundabout way. So the advisor takeaway here is that clients often feel the same way about money as those gold advocates did back in 1984. They worry about dilution of the money, debasement of the dollar, printing without limits. How many clients have ever mentioned to you that they just print money that we don't have, talking about the Federal Reserve and the Treasury Department? So your role is to show them that history proves these fears aren't paranoid. They're rational. They do print money endlessly and seemingly without any limits. So remember, this is not financial advice. We're going to go through this video series. You're the financial advisor. I'm a financial advisor, but my role here is to inspire you to dig deeper into Bitcoin until you've mastered the topic. If you'd like to read the full article that inspired this video, check the link in the description. You can just go read it. If you commit yourself to learning Bitcoin at a deeper level, my call to action is set a goal for yourself. Nobody can understand Bitcoin, in my opinion, unless they devote 100 hours of study. It takes a deep dive to understand the intricacies. Bitcoin is simple to use. It's just very complex to understand how the entire Bitcoin network works from a financial advisor's planning perspective. There's lots of planning capabilities with Bitcoin. In our next video, we're going to explore what happened after Hayek's challenge. Because in the 1990s, brilliant minds tried and failed over and over to create this digital cash that we now know as Bitcoin. Each failure added a new ingredient to the recipe that would one day become Bitcoin. I want you to think of this series as Bitcoin didn't just pop out of thin air from some software developer that remained anonymous and it just magically appeared one day. No, I'm going to build a case in this video series that there were ingredients that go into baking a cake. Water, flour, sugar, eggs, butter, that you'll see as we go through the history of Bitcoin. There were many failed attempts. However, each one of these failures created an ingredient that the individual that developed Bitcoin pulled together in a new and ingenious way and came out with this idea of Bitcoin. He quite literally is standing on the shoulders of giants, and I want to walk you through this so that you'll have a PhD level understanding of the history of Bitcoin, but from a financial advisor perspective. So I'll see you in video number 2.